Hello, I'm Jimmy Carr, and I love three things: jokes, saying jokes, and hearing other people say jokes. Which is why I couldn't believe my luck when the BBC asked me to present 6 shows all about some of my favourite comedians saying funny things. In this show, I'll be playing you clips of some great stand-ups, and at the same time, I'll be giving you some top tips for those of you out there who are thinking, that sounds like fun, I might like to give that a go myself. That might seem a little unlikely. I mean, who in their right mind would give up a perfectly decent job to try their luck as an unknown comedian, travelling up and down the country for no money in a crazy attempt to make it in showbiz? Well, plenty of people have done exactly that, and some of them have even managed to make a sort of career out of it. And I should know, I'm one of them. I have to admit, though, stand-up is a weird way to make a living. Marty Feldman once said that he believed comedy was an unnatural act. Now, turns out my girlfriend has a lot in common with Marty Feldman, and not just her looks. So, if we're talking stand-ups, we might as well start with the total master of the art. It's Mr. Eddie Izzard.
When you're a kid, bees and wasps are out to get you, so you run from bees and wasps. Run from bees and wasps. And they're always just behind your head, aren't they? Just behind... Bees and wasps, just behind my head. And your dad, who's working with the bees and wasps, suddenly comes in and says, "Stand still!" And the wasps go, "Thanks, Dad." Pow! But later on you realise bees aren't so bad. Because, first of all, they only sting you once, and they only sting you as a last resort. And also they make honey, and that is an amazing thing. Bees make honey. We've known this since we were kids, so we all take it absolutely for granted. But bees are insecty, furry body, hairy, leggy, big ears, big eyes, big ears as well. But they leave them behind when they go out. Got out of that one. Medium-sized wings. You know, they're buzzy things. So they make honey, which is in your morning, on your breakfasty, toasty, in a jar kind of thing. How did they do that? I mean, do earwigs make chutney? Do spiders make gravy? What's going on? Earwigs going, "Get the chutney under that stone there. We make chutney all day. Making chutney." Takes me back to swimming. I swam widths and lengths. More of a widths person myself. There used to be that swimming, right, we're all going swimming. All you kids who can swim, off you go, and look very lean and fit and cut through the water like things that cut through water. All you crap kids, here's a bit of polystyrene, go and humiliate yourselves in the shallow end. You've got this float thing, white battered polystyrene, you have to get in the shallow end. And do widths across. Oh, it was terrible. It was an aqua Zimmer frame, it was.
Why have they got that no bombing sign in swimming pools? That'd make a lot more sense at the airport. I remember doing swimming at school. There was one girl that was so big, she'd have done a width just by getting in. Lots of people think they can be a stand-up comedian, and when it comes to telling jokes, the difference between an amateur and a professional can seem very slight. But the fact is there's a huge gulf between the amateur joke teller and the professional comedian. And what separates them is the masochistic compulsion that all successful comedians share to make people laugh. It's a pure, naked need, a need for love, popularity, approval, and laughter. And one comic who has more naked needs than most is Alan Carr. Like all great comedians, he makes what he does look easy. In fact, if you didn't know he was standing on stage in front of a huge audience, you could be forgiven for imagining he just invited some friends round for a cup of tea and a chat.
That's the reason why I'm bloody single, because of all this technology. It's like the supermarket, pack and scan. You can't even chat up the checkout people anymore, can you? You can't even like arrange the fruit and veg in a seductive manner, can you? Because there's no one there. You want to come to Manchester, though, with this pack and scan. I was behind a woman putting a widescreen telly through as button mushrooms. £1.50, marvellous. I tell you another bit of technology I hate. That internet. I Google whacked my name, put my name in, you had to. I'm on a website, 20celebritiesI'dlikeTopunch.com. J-Lo, Madonna, Tom Cruise, and then me. I'm the only one who can't afford a bodyguard. And I can't fight. Have you seen me fight? It's a cross between river dance and a doggy paddle. I'm like, yeah.
Those pack and scan machines are putting so many checkout girls out of work. It's a real shame. Soon, Girls Aloud won't have jobs to go back to. They can automate the checkout, but they'll always need a real person to collect the trolleys. So don't worry, Steve Brookstein, your job is safe. Of course, the great thing about being a stand-up, and the terrible thing, is that if you have an addiction for approval, then standing up on stage is pretty much an instant hit. When it works. Even though some laughs are bigger than others, it's a simple binary system for comedians. Laugh, no laugh. Sort of laugh does not compute. Live comedy audiences are ruthless and insatiable, like Natasha Kaplinsky after 2 rum and cokes. If they smell fear, you're done for. And you're only as good as your last joke. Not your last show, your last joke. It sounds brutal, and it is. That's why the language of comedy is full of violence. He killed last night when it goes well. He died on stage when it doesn't. Yes, it's a tough business. Although you wouldn't know it when you listen to Bill Bailey.
One thing that confuses me is who photographs kebabs? I mean, who does that? I was in a kebab shop the other day and I'm looking up and going, somebody's taken these. I tell you what, some of them are pretty bloody good as well. Look at that one there. That's a belter, isn't it? I mean, is that some guy that, you know, he had illusions of being a great photographer, you know, like great fashion photographer, a wartime correspondent, and gradually the work didn't come in, he needed the bills paying, and some bloke in the pub said to him, look, I'll tell you what, mate, you can make a few quid on the old, you know, snack photo circuit, I'll tell you. You know, and you meet this guy in a pub, you know, and you talk to him and say, what do you do, mate? Oh, I'm a photographer, you know. Oh, yeah? What sort of things do you do? Freelance. Oh, I work a lot freelance, you know. After about 6 or 7 pints, he's going, yeah, I do your basic doner, shish, kofta, pie and chips, saveloy chips, passion chips, cheeseburger, hamburger, cheeseburger, chips. Oh, my life has gone right there, that's all I feel like. Terrible state, oh god. You imagine him in a little attic somewhere with a kebab on a little cushion like that and a photographer, yeah, go on mate, lovely, go on you little minx, come on, you know you want it, go on then. Give me more, you little devil, go on there, you saucy little minx, come on then. Here's salad, oh you love it, you know, like that. He's got loads of magazines everywhere, amateur food photographer, you know, like that, you know. And at the back of me, readers' dinners, you know, like that. Loads of out-of-focus kebabs on cheap MFI furniture, you know, like that.
Bill Bailey has found something different and funny to say about doner kebabs, something we all see every day. Well, not every day, not unless you're Kerry Katona. So, you still want to be a comedian? I haven't managed to put you off yet. Well, let me try just a little bit harder. You think you'd be a great stand-up because your mates tell you you're hilarious? That's got to count for something, right? Wrong. Being funny with your mates is not just about what you say. It's also about who you are and your relationship together. On stage, there's no context. No one knows anything about you. No one's interested in anything about you, except whether you can make them laugh or not. So don't think, just because you're the office joker, you'll kill on stage. There's a special name for the person at work who's always ready with a smart remark or a prank. We call them knobheads. So, what's the point of becoming a comedian? Well, it's estimated that American stand-up Jerry Seinfeld is worth $800 million. $800 million. And he got all that just by standing up on stage and saying funny stuff. Stuff like this.
I like staying in hotels. I enjoy hotels. I like tiny soap. I pretend that it's normal soap and my muscles are huge. You can always tell when you're in a fine quality luxury hotel when the TV's bolted to a solid steel beam and welded into the wall. I don't like staying at people's houses on the road. Don't like other people's showers. I can never adjust the temperature right. I don't know the ratios on the dials. You know, sometimes a 1/16 of an inch is 1,000 degrees. Got to get out of the way of the water. There's always that little hair stuck on the wall of somebody else's shower. And you want to get rid of it, but you don't want to touch it. I don't know how it got up that high in the first place. Maybe it's got a life of its own. I don't want to get involved. So you got to aim the shower head at the hair. That never works. You got to get a pool of water from under the shower and over to the hair. You get it down a foot at a time like this. The hair is hanging on. But we have to fight these battles. We're all alone in the bathroom.
Whatever goes wrong, you have to handle it. You ever go to a big party, go in the bathroom, flush the toilet, and the water starts coming up? This is the most frightening moment in the life of a human being, right here. You will do anything to stop this. You'll lose your mind, start talking to the toilet. No, please don't do this to me. Come on. You know this is not my fault. I'll get you the blue thing, the man in the boat. Just let me off the hook this one time.
Of course, even Jerry Seinfeld had to start somewhere, and he, like every aspiring stand-up, was lucky. Why? Because one of the great things about stand-up comedy is that it's the one area of show business that has an entry-level platform which is open to everyone, regardless of background, wealth, contacts, or ability. In fact, it's so open, it's called an open spot. Most comedy clubs have an open night or an open spot, where just about anyone can get up in front of the audience and try and make them laugh. No other branch of show business allows you onto the first rung of the ladder with such ease. So if you really, really want to give stand-up a go, there's literally nothing stopping you. It's easier than getting into Lembic Opic's diary. Here's another great stand-up, Robert Schimmel. His pacing is incredible. Listen to how he rides the laughter and drip-feeds the material.
I have a friend that scuba dives. He says, you know what you're supposed to do if a shark's bothering you? Bothering? It's not like they're going, hey, you got 50 cents? He said you punch him in the face. Yeah, and then when that doesn't work, you poke him in the eye with your stump. Punch a shark? What if he wasn't even going to attack you? What if he's just curious and he's swimming by and you go, what'd you do that for? I thought you were going to attack me. Yeah, I'm going to now. I was going to let you go, but the other sharks are watching. It doesn't look good now.
What's the name of that famous film from the 80s about the greedy shark? Oh yes, Wall Street. Top tip if you're scared of sharks, don't go to Australia. And that tip also works if you're not scared of sharks. Doing your first open spot can be a terrifying experience. It's like having sex for the first time. Only this time you want people to laugh at you. And why not take some friends along for moral support? It's like going to an audition on The X Factor, only instead of Simon Cowell sitting there afterwards telling you how crap you were, there'll be your mates telling you were brilliant, even though you probably died on your arse. One thing that seems to terrify most would-be stand-ups is hecklers. But don't be scared. Just remember, you have the microphone and they don't. That immediately gives you the authority and the volume advantage. If you can't think of anything funny to say as a put-down, you could always just drown them out. My favourite heckle was during a very difficult gig. Everything fell silent when a joke fell flat. And someone whispered to their friend in the back of the room, "There used to be a pool table in here." Devastating, damning, and almost impossible to come back from. I never allowed my mother to come to another show. After a while, you grow to love hecklers. If you're doing the same 20 minutes of material, night in, night out, for weeks on end, it's great when someone comes along and breaks things up a little bit. My favourite bit of my own show is at the end, when I ask if there are any questions from the audience. It's really just an invitation for people to join in, have a bit of a heckle, enjoy themselves. Here's another excellent American stand-up, Mitch Hedberg. On the plus side, his dependency on drink and drugs helped fuel the surreal flights of fancy that you're about to enjoy. On the other hand, they killed him in 2005. So it's swings and roundabouts, I suppose.
I was at a convenience store and a guy with a quart of milk came up to me and said, "Hey, do you know what the score is?" "I don't know. What's the game?" "If it's a contest between me and you, and the object is to ask the other guy questions he doesn't give a shit about, then you're ahead 1-0. I play tennis, so I like tennis. Tennis is a good game. The thing that's depressing about tennis is no matter how good I get, I'll never be as good as a wall. Hey, people give me gift certificates as gifts. I think a gift certificate is a bad gift. What's a gift certificate? You take money that was good everywhere, and you ruin it. Just give me the 20.
So to recap, to become a successful comedian, you need an unhealthy desire for approval from strangers, incredibly thick skin, and most of all, you need some jokes. Now, most jokes are written backwards. You start off with a punchline, and then you work out the rest. Here's an example. The punchline is, it was a terrible blow. Okay, working back from there, the setup is, one of my girlfriends choked to death. Now do that 250 times, and you've got a show. See, writing jokes is quite hard work, and the kicker is, the harder you work at it, the more effortless it appears. Very few comedians are just funny. In reality, the best ones have spent years practicing how to look as if they're not even trying. Even the great Eric Morecambe, who seemed to make it up as he went along, had rehearsed every pause, every punchline to perfection. Remember, it takes a hell of a lot of work to become the next Joe Pasquale, and even more to be good. But what should you write about? Well, they say, write about what you know. And what Peter Kay knows about is sitting down and watching a bit of telly.
Who wants to be a millionaire? Why video it for a kick-off? Because if you video it, you can forward straight to big money, right? How many legs has a dog got? Can't phone a friend? Can you just go? Here's your coat, see ya, ta-da, love. What's that one? 50-50. Can I go 50-50? Computer! Computer! Can you take away 2 answers, leaving 1 right answer and 1 wrong answer? Computer! Just a bloke sat behind curtain like that with a fang. Return. There you go. Can I phone a friend? Yes, of course you can. Who do you want to ring? Can I ring Amanda? Yeah, if you want, yeah. OK. Amanda? Amanda? She's up at lighting as well. Amanda? Amanda, it's Chris Tarrant here from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Ah, yeah, you threw a bucket of water over me when I was 6, you lads. All right, never mind that. That's never heard of that. Sis wasn't long gone. Listen, I've got Carol here in front of me. You tell that slag from me! If she sleeps with our Tony... All right, I've only got 30 seconds, love. Can we cut to chase here?
Chris Tarrant's divorce cost him a fortune. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Turns out his wife did. The other great thing about being a stand-up comedian is that there's an excellent social side. But beware. A lot of famous and successful comedians don't drink, and there's a reason for this. If you're not careful, going out to the clubs and socialising every night can lead to you getting more of a buzz out of the lager than the laughs. I'm not preaching, just giving you a heads up. Here's Dylan Moran.
And the English people have all these weird ideas about Irish people. Like, you know, that they live underground. And also they drink too much. And this is true, because I was a homeless and they do. Everybody drinks too much, everybody, all around the world. But, you know, my thing is, I think it depends on what you're drinking, you know. My advice to all is to drink wine. I'm drinking wine. Look, wonderful, wonderful thing. Makes you more intelligent, more expansive. It makes you a better person. If somebody were to say to you at 4 o'clock in the morning, after you've been drinking wine all day, let's go ice skating, and you're drinking wine, and you just say, yes, of course, here are my skates, where are yours? You're ready. Beer isn't such a clever drink. Beer is more of a pre-food thing. Because if you drink beer, you're eventually going to end up going, sausages! Food! Small children, right now! Food! And some of you might go outside and drink scotch, and that's a very dangerous drink, because you know you can be talking to somebody and you're fine, and you're going, oh, your scars have healed up really well, and then you turn around to somebody you've known for 14 years and say something like, I've always thought you're a complete bastard. Get out of my house, I don't know why I asked you back. But the most dangerous drink is actually gin, and it's very clear and white and innocuous looking, and it goes, drink me. But if you do, you have to be very careful, and you also have to be 45, female, and sitting on the stairs. Because gin isn't so much a drink as a mascara thinner, you know? Nobody likes my shoes. Because, you know, my dad can be quite aggressive when he gets drunk, and he'd come up and say things like, what do you mean I'm talking too close to your face? Face.
Some great comedians have had their careers cut short by drink and drugs. Tragically, John Belushi spent his entire life drinking booze, doing drugs, and womanising. I wish there was just a little bit more tragedy in my life. We've been concentrating here on male comedians, but that's simply because there are more of us. You don't need to be a man to be a successful stand-up comedian. You just need to be prepared to make a dick of yourself. So if you're a funny lady, and there are plenty of you out there listening, then maybe you should try your luck on stage. After all, there are some absolutely brilliant female stand-ups out there. Joan Rivers, Victoria Wood, Joan Rivers, the list goes on and on. Here's Lucy Porter.
So I'm a single lady and I live on my own. And right, because I think I'm single for a few reasons, right? But one of the things my friends say is that I'm a bit eccentric, right? I've got some little things that they say are a bit weird. Like I've got an imaginary dog, which I don't know. Is that weird? I think it's brilliant. I've got a dog called Bouncy Nora, and I called her Bouncy Nora because when I first got her, she had 3 legs, and so I got her. She had 3 legs, but then I felt sorry for her, so she's got 4 legs now. And I think it's brilliant having an imaginary dog because when you think about it, if you've got an imaginary dog, you've got a dog that only you can see and nobody else in the world can, which is the exact opposite of having a guide dog.
Most kids have got real dogs. It's the farm that the dogs go to live on when they're old and tired that's imaginary. Last year I bought my girlfriend an imaginary puppy for Christmas, which on Boxing Day I threw in the imaginary canal. Don't complain about that, it's all imaginary. Being a stand-up might seem at first like an absurd way to make a living, but being a stand-up can be a lot like teaching. In fact, it might surprise you to learn that many successful comedians used to work in the classroom, which in a way was like the nursery slope to a life on stage, with your pupils forming your first real audience. The main difference is if a comedian sleeps with an audience member after a gig, he's unlikely to end up on some sort of register. And what if it doesn't work out for you? What's not the end of the world? After all, what's the worst that could happen? Here's Simon Evans.
I did some gigs in Newcastle a little while ago, and I said to them, much as I said to you, educated accent, you may not be familiar with it. They were fine about that, at first. One of them got it, passed it round, things turned a bit ugly. It was... I abhor what was done in the North East under Thatcher's regime. It was a terrible thing. She dismantled the economy of the North East out of spite. It was working fine for generations on a very simple basis. Namely this, you get a harness on a northerner, you can get a lot of work done. Now, that is a fact. You know it, you're hardy beast, you endure extremes of temperature with very little adjustment in your clothing. The first time I came up here was the middle of winter. Has been for years. Freezing wind blowing in off the North Sea, full of sleet, bits of old boat. The thing that struck me was a rivet, as it turned out. Now, the thing that struck me, seriously, the women in particular were walking around in their underwear. What I'd originally taken to be a sort of pink and purple mottled shell suit affair was in fact the flesh of these women, such as they are. Now, I enjoy a wind-stiffened nipple as much as the next man. Might even count myself a connoisseur. Al dente, that would be my preference. The firm but not brittle nipple, that's what you want. With a bit of give, but still with a sense of purpose. Enough to hang your hat on, but not your umbrella. All I'm saying, I think once your cleavage has gone the colour of Stilton, it's time to dress up a bit. I was in a bar. I heard a woman say to her friend, don't wear your bra in here, you won't feel the benefit when you go out. I hardly dared look, but I forced myself. That is an image that will stay with me for some time. Thanks to my new camera phone.
If you do decide to try and be a stand-up for a living, then make sure you enjoy yourself. Don't replace one call centre with another one. And if you don't enjoy it, go back to the office job. At least you'll get home earlier. If you become a really, really good stand-up, you might eventually be good enough to make people laugh by simply reading out a long list of unrelated words. Don't think it's possible? Here's Rowan Atkinson.
Right, quiet. Ainsley. Babcock. Bland. Cart horse. Dint. Ellsworth Beast Major. Ellsworth Beast Minor. Fiat. German. Hemoglobin. Have a nut. Jones M. Jones N. Kosygin. Loudhailer. Mattock. Nancy Boy Possum. Nibble. Come on, settle down. Orifice.
So there you have it. Genius at work. If you want to try your hand at stand-up, then I'd urge you to give it a go. Not for the money, not for the fame, not for the girls, not for the laughter, but just on the off chance that one day your old boss from your dead-end job will see you on telly and feel terrible about himself. Worth it, just for that. Trust me. And remember, the only thing to fear is fear itself. What's the worst that could happen? They'll all laugh at you? Well, that's sort of the point. Here's Twitter King, Jason Manford.
So I've been on tour, for the last few months. I do miss my wife, I've only been married a year. And I do miss her until I get home, And then... my wife's lovely, but she always wants to do stuff, She always wants to go out, and I get like one day off every 3 weeks. I just want to stay in bed, catch up on a bit of Sky Plus, you know what I mean? My wife's like, let's go shopping! And I have to sort of fake enthusiasm. I go, yeah! Let's go shopping! Can I follow you around all the shops? You know how I love that. Can I carry everything, yeah? Can I carry everything? So my hands go white. I love that. I love that, yeah. Can you ring all the shops in advance and get them to put their eating up? I love that as well. Just get it dead hot. I love that, And this has only happened once, right? The shopping gods are on my side. And I was sat in the pen, the bit for blokes, right? And she went into the changing rooms to try some dresses on she tried on 4 hours previous, but they might be different now. So, off she went in there. And I was sat there, as luck would have it, I looked, and one of the mirrors was at just the right angle, and somebody had left a little bit of a gap in their curtain, right? I know this is really bad, but I got to see a bit of free arse, right? And free arse is like arse on top of your recommended daily allowance of arse, It was brilliant. I was like, oh, brilliant, free arse. A bit of side boob, but mainly free arse, right? And then a bloke came and sat down next to me, right? And he spotted the free arse, and we had a little free arse smile, like, free arse. And then after about 20 minutes, my wife came out of that cubicle, right? And I was obviously looking proper gutted, right? Because my wife went, what's wrong with you? I said, nothing. Because I thought, I can't tell her, can I? Can't go, I thought I was looking at someone else's arse, but turned out it was yours. So I just had to walk away looking at this bloke like he was a pervert. You're out of order, mate. It's my wife.
See you next time, and thanks for listening. That was Jimmy Carr's Comedy Cuts with me, Jimmy Carr. It was written by me and Dom English and was produced by Paul Russell. This was an open mic production for BBC Radio 2.